Hello chess lovers, Anand here, and in today's video we will analyze a very interesting game which is going to have a very dramatic finish. Yes, the end game, the last stage of the game is very interesting, very dramatic, very unique, and you will enjoy it a lot. Through the game we will go quickly to reach that point. This is a game played between two world chess champions. Viswanathan Anand is playing against Magnus Carlsen. The game is from 2023 Global Chess League. This was a rapid game and Anand opened up with e4. Carlsen's answer was e6 and French defenses on the board. Bishop b4, Winawer variation, advanced Winawer, c5, a3 takes, knight c6, queen g4, emphasizing the absence of the dark squared bishop, hitting on g6, and then h4, trying to start putting pressure on black's king side. h6 by Carlsen. By the way, this position also occurred in 2017 in a game played between Anand and Panamaryov. Anand managed to beat his opponent, but this time the game is going to take a different turn. On the black side is Magnus Carlsen, who plays endgames like a machine. There it goes. With f4 this time white is trying to erect another weakness on the king side, but Carlsen first answers queen a5, hits on c3, and once white is protecting that pawn this time, he's attacking white queen g3, g4, and thus Carlsen managed to successfully neutralize all possible threats on the king side, locked up the king side, and now he will try to create a counterattack on the queen side. White has weaknesses on the queen side, although emphasizing that fact is not an easy task. The engine evaluates the position as equal. There it goes, the queens are also gone. a4 in order not to allow black bishop to occupy this square. Usually in Winawer, as you know, black is putting his queen on a4 in some lines, putting pressure on c2, but this time we have a4, and then when white is playing a4, is putting the bishop on a3. Let's see what will white do. There it goes. That bishop belongs to a3 f8 diagonal, knight d8, bishop b4, knight db7, knight d4, rook b8, knight b3, knight c4, and takes. At the moment nothing special happens. Both players are maneuvering all the time, are trying to find better squares for their pieces, and all in all we have an equal battle. Still we have a total equality on our engine's evaluation. Rook d4, rook d8, rook a d1. The first pair of rooks is also gone. Bishop c6, black stands very solid. And now the bishop is occupying the long diagonal, putting pressure on g2 and g3 check. Carlsen is trying to add fuel to the fire. He's making a pawn sacrifice, but strangely, Anand didn't accept that pawn sacrifice, played king g1, but he could pretty much play knight takes g3. Black's idea was to play rook g8 and then rook g4. Okay, we have king g1, rook g8, knight d4, the bishop on c6 is now hanging, rook goes to d8 pinning the knight, bishop d6, bishop e4, bishop b4, rook d5, king f1, knight d8, here, takes, knight goes back to e2, and here we have an exchange of rooks as well. The pawn on g2 drops. In return, Anand is winning black's pawn. But now this bishop is stepping on f3 and the knight is doomed to passivity. He should guard that pawn all the time. King d2, bishop g4, king e3, king e8. Let's see what's in Carlsen's mind. Looks like that. Okay. Allowing this knight to jump on d5 could really be catastrophic for white. That's why Anand hurries to get rid of it. King c1. This is a mistake. Guys, I'm going to finish the game and then I will turn on Stockfish. We will see what's going wrong in this endgame. King b2, king c6, king a2, king d5, Carlsen is centralizing his king, while this king should always keep an eye both on c2 as well in order to always protect the pawn, and this knight should always guard a5 square. Black has an initiative, of course. Black has an initiative. King c1, bishop f3, king b2, b4. Here Carlsen hurried with b4. C takes b4, king d4, c3 check, king d3, b5. Suddenly white is getting a chance to create a counterplay. The a pawn escapes, king d2, a7, bishop d5, knight takes f5 landed, and knight takes f5 is a mistake. Knight takes f5 was such a huge mistake. Better was knight f1 check, if king d3 then knight g3, forming a fortress, you know, forming a fortress. But okay, we have knight takes f5, e takes f5, e6. The knight sacrifice allowed Anand to create the second passed pawn, but now with b4, Carlsen himself wants to get a passed pawn. e7, b takes c3 check, king a2, c2, and a8 queen, a very, very important deflective move. If e8 queen, if you allow this bishop, if you leave this bishop on this diagonal, then c3 check is coming and the pawn is going for a pawn promotion with a check. That's why Anand first is playing a8 queen, is luring away this bishop, and only then is going for a pawn promotion. Bishop e4, queen d8 check, bishop d3, queen d4, and now what? So we reached the most beautiful part of the game. It's black to move, how to proceed. Magnus Carlsen found a study-like continuation. Are you ready? Here we go. Carlsen went for an under promotion to a knight, the only winning move in this position. If you go for c1 queen, then queen e3 check can follow, and we have a stalemate. We have a stalemate. That's why you should not allow that check. c1 knight is the killer move. King a3. Yeah, and you are going for a knight promotion with a check. c1 knight check, king a3, c3. Queen b6, black queen alone can't do much against these monsters. Knight e2, queen takes h6, c2, and white resigned. My engine is on, and we will go through the game from this point on. So we see king c1, which is a mistake. We have a huge change in evaluation. Better was king e3. If king d8, then knight e2. So you are sacrificing the pawn on h5, but then you are bringing your knight to b4, a very deep maneuver. I guess already at this point both players were under a serious time pressure, and finding this maneuver was beyond Anand's strength. And this knight from b4 is not only putting pressure on a6, thus keeping black king all the time on these squares in order to guard it, and also protects this pawn, while white king can stop the h-pawn. This is the best defense. Instead we have king c1, king d7, here king c6, black is currently winning. King a3, king c5, king b2, bishop d1, here bishop f3. And now Carlsen hurries with b4. Better was wait in order white will move back the king, for example, to c1, and then go for, okay, here king c1, b4. It makes sense, turns out that it makes sense. And if king c3, then black can make some waiting moves. King b2. Okay, bishop c6. What if here, then bishop e8. This time black is putting pressure on h5. What's next? So we're playing here. And then b4. Interesting. Turns out that this makes sense. Oh, not really, sorry. Instead of king b4, king d4, sorry. King d4, king c1, c3. What's the point? Let's see. Yeah, and then cementing c2 pawn with c3, and then coming after the pawn. So if you hurry with king takes b4, there is this c3 check, right? Better was first coming here. If c3 check, then already your pawn on f4 is a target. Yeah. That was nice. So yeah, bringing the bishop to e8 and then going at some point to b4. A position which is worth of analyzing deeper. If you wish, you can set up on your engine and analyze it further. Really a complex and interesting line. Okay, b4 is on the board, king d4, c3 check, king d3. At this point already we have an equality, but black needs an utmost precision to hold this. Bishop d5. But was knight f5 really a threat? For example, if bishop b7, knight f5 is not even a threat. So it turns out that, yeah, black could pretty much also move his bishop to c6 as well, right? This move can be made with b4. Interesting, really interesting lines. Okay, we have bishop d5, and Anand goes for knight f5, which doesn't give white anything, and the move was knight f1 check to hold the position. Okay, to form a fortress. Knight f5, e5, he takes f5, e6. Yeah, we can see that black is totally winning. e7 check, king a2, c2, a8 queen, bishop takes, pawn goes. And now Carlsen makes a mistake, plays bishop e4, which is allowing black white to draw. The best move is c3. If check, then king e1, and if here, then bishop e4. This is how white should win. But instead we have bishop e4. Let's see what's the problem. Check. Bishop d3, queen d4. Anand is making the losing move. The best move is queen b6, guys. Both keeping an eye on f2 and also on h6. If c1 queen, for example, then check, and then check. We have a stalemate. And if you go for a knight promotion, then king a3, here, queen h6. Yeah, you are winning this pawn and it really makes sense. Then you can give up your queen on c1. A new queen is going to be born, and this is a draw. This pawn will drop, and this is a draw. Although in blitz, it's black who has an initiative, black can still press hard, you know, try to make use of the passed pawn. But yeah, this was the best line. Instead we have queen d4 and c1 knight. What a marvelous study-like move by Magnus Carlsen. Check, king a3, c3, queen b6, knight e2, this pawn is unstoppable. Yeah, now look, if queen c6, unlike the previous line, white is a tempo up, and this is how white can win. This knight is on e2, the pawn on f4 will drop, then knight g6, and the pawn is tapped. Black is winning, and this is how black wins the game. Nice endgame. Out of nowhere, Carlsen created a counterplay. He's really good in endgames and won the game. Hope that you enjoyed this. Feel free to share it with your friends as well. In the end, a chess puzzle for you. The task is to mate in 2. We'll wait for your answer in the comment section. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in my next video. Take care.